French perfumes are some of the most luxurious perfumes in the world. When you think of perfume, you usually think of Paris or France in general, even though perfume was invented pretty much by the ancient Egyptians 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Even so, the French kind of take all the credit for perfume these days, sometimes the Italians, but mainly the French. And for a good reason. The French do indeed produce some of the most well-known and most appreciated perfumes in the world. So for that reason, I'm going to go over some of the top 10 French perfumes, at least in my opinion. So, a classic is Shalimar by Guerlain. And the thing about Shalimar, it's been around for almost 100 years. Yeah, almost 100 years. And it's just from the 1920s, you could tell it's from the 1920s. Smoky, incensey, woodsy, a little bit of citrus. And overall just a very luxurious, pretty heavy perfume. And even with some masculine notes, especially the eau de parfum, which is, pretty strong. And Guerlain as a brand in general has been around for a very long time. They're known for their perfumes, high quality, high class luxury perfumes. You pretty much can't go wrong with them. So, another one I have here is relatively new, but it is quite a hit. Let's see, Baccarat Rouge 540 by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And this is a very interesting perfume because it's very strong and it has some unique sweet notes. In my review of it, I kind of mentioned it kind of smells a little bit like burnt cotton candy, at the same time mixed with some very unique spices like saffron, some wood, that sort of thing. And the cool thing about this particular perfume is that if you get the full bottle, it comes in a Baccarat crystal bottle. And if you don't know what Baccarat crystal is, it's been around for a very long time, for hundreds of years, and it's a very, very fine type of French crystal, and it's renowned for its craftsmanship. So really the bottle itself contributes to the very high price of Baccarat Rouge 540. So the next one here is a much more affordable French alternative. This is Emeraude from Coty, a brand founded by François Coty in the early 20th century. And the thing about this perfume is that it was a huge hit when it came out in the 20s. Very citrusy and yet very woodsy. The citrus notes kind of fade into the wood notes the longer you wear it. A little bit of musk and plenty of powderiness. Powderiness was pretty popular in the 20s. This is not necessarily a French perfume that is often worn today. It's kind of been set on the shelf aside. But it is still, it still has its core values of those citrus notes, the wood notes, stuff like that. So it is an eau de cologne, so it's not a very long-lasting perfume, but it is good for just wearing out and about during the daytime, so casually, that sort of thing. So next one is L'air du Temps by Nina Ricci, and this is a very, very classic French perfume. It is still popular today, not as popular as it once was. It came out in 1948. It's one of my favorites. It's generally a floral perfume, light florals, but it is grounded with some amber notes, a bit of wood notes, gentle musk, that sort of thing. It's generally a light perfume, but instead of being too light and refreshing, it actually is grounded by certain warm notes, which I quite like. So it's not your typical floral fragrance. It does have a certain amber kind of warmth to it. So that is like a golden classic for me of French perfumes. Now, I have three, all from the same brand, all French, of course. Let's see. Joy by Jean Patou, Sublime, and 1000. So, all of these from the Jean Patou brand, Joy is the oldest. It came out in 1929, I believe. Sublime came out in the 90s, and 1000 came out in the 70s. All of them are, the Jean Patou brand, even though they don't produce perfumes anymore, they were well known for producing very high quality, luxurious French perfumes. Joy and 1000 are pretty similar in terms of their woodsiness and kind of dryness. Joy is unique because or at least it used to use a combination of more than 10,000 flowers, so obviously very floral, and it would blend it with some wood notes like oak, a bit of that, and a bit of musk. So it's definitely more of an old-fashioned perfume. It's not as popular as it once was, but it is still a very classic French perfume. 1000 is similar mainly because of those, oak notes and stuff like that. Although it isn't as floral or as sweet or refreshing as Joy, it's more of this just dry, woody perfume. So that's what makes it unique. But the perfume industry generally is more about sweet perfumes these days, so people aren't really too familiar with 1000 these days. But Sublime is kind of more modern. It mainly because of its kind of fruity, citrusy notes, as well as some very warm wood notes in the bottom, mainly sandalwood, with a bit of musk. And I really like Sublime. It does have that bright fruitiness, but made warm from the wood notes. So those three definitely, even though Jean Patou, you can't get it from the Jean Patou website anymore, but you can usually find perfumes from that brand from different websites. So another one, well actually two, both from Chanel. We have Coco by Chanel, and then of course Chanel No. 5. So these two are both very classic. No. 5 is more classic. It's been around since the 20s, has very prominent floral notes that turn into notes of civet and musk with a bit of sandalwood and a bit of vanilla. And it was renowned for its craftsmanship at the time of its release, and it was one of the first perfumes to use aldehydes. So it's kind of bright and fresh at the beginning, and then it gets warmer and more musky the longer you wear it. And it's still popular today. It's one of the few vintage style perfumes that have pretty much remained popular throughout history. Coco, on the other hand, is from the 80s. It's a very delightful, spicy perfume. It very, very prominent notes of cloves, I would say, nutmeg, allspice, that sort of thing. Very spicy. Then some wood notes. It's generally a pretty heavy perfume, pretty musky, Definitely not a light floral or light refreshing perfume, definitely heavy. So then, this last one here, Voyage d'Hermès, and this is a very kind of refreshing, light perfume. Notes of lemon and lime, floral notes, white florals especially. A little bit of musk, but not really too much. Mainly focusing on the citrus and this kind of fresh linen aura it has. And Hermès itself is a very renowned French perfume brand, and just French brand in general. And it definitely accomplishes what it wants to accomplish, which is being light and refreshing. And I mean, overall, these French brands and French perfumes, I think they do a good job of what they're trying to do. So that's pretty much all the French perfumes I have in front of me. If you have any other ideas or recommendations for popular French perfumes, you can always leave those down in the comments below. Leave a like if you like the video, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.